from Los Angeles, I'm Jenny Tapchi with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Jenny. How are you today?
I just don't know about your baby bird. You keep flapping your gums over there about your baby bird. And Luka Doncic last night went 1 for 9 from 3. He can't shoot.
He had an off night.
He's baby sparrow.
What about your guy last night? What about your guy last night?
Back to back on the road. That's what happens.
Don't do that.
You play in Atlanta, you play at Brooklyn, and those Nets, can they play defense?
Man,
you better believe it.
20 years old. You can't do a back-to-back at 20.
Yeah.
I hate to see him at 25.
You guys are fired up. I like the way this is starting today. All right, we're going to get to all that, but we are 3 weeks from the draft, which means everyone is weighing in right now, including Richard Sherman. Let me explain. While initial reports were that the 49ers were eyeing Mac Jones with the 3rd pick, there were also reports that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan differed on which QB to take. Former Niner Richard Sherman said that he believes San Fran will draft Justin Fields. Sherman also said Fields is fighting against the black quarterback stereotype, saying, quote, they're pigeonholing Justin Fields. He is literally the most efficient, if not one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the draft. So, Shannon, does he have a point here?
Yeah, Skip, unfortunately, the black quarterback element still seeps into when you hear them talk. And it's not, you have to know what you're listening for because it's coded. Last in, first out. Does he process information fast enough? Does he put in the work? That's how they do it now, Skip. And you know, they used to just come out and say it, you know, he just can't think fast enough on his feet. They used to have a problem saying it. Now you have to be a little bit more cautious of how you try to get that same thing out. Skip, for me, is that's the question that the black quarterback has always had to face. He had to be twice as good just to be half accepted. And Justin Fields is going through this. Now, his first year starting at Ohio State, 51 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This year he was down a little bit, but his completion percentage.
I mean, they only played 8 games.
They only played 8 games, right? He had 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
But Skip, they make it
22-6. But so.
Yeah,
okay.
which is still pretty good ratio. So a guy in 2 years of starting throw 9 interceptions and has over 70 touchdowns. I think that's pretty good. But, Skip, that's just what it is. And if you remember when Lamar Jackson come out, see, and normally you and I talking and people, analysts that sit across and they debate, if they say things, that's one thing. But it's when people that have gold jacket like myself that's been in charge of putting teams together, championship caliber teams, said, oh, he should switch positions. Something you never heard about Johnny Manziel. You've never heard, man, Johnny's the last in, the first out. Johnny process information. You never heard that about Ryan Leaf. You really never hear that about the right counterparts.
No, wait a second. Johnny Manziel's work ethic was highly questioned.
No.
Trust me.
No. His behavior off the field.
But also his work ethic, like he just didn't care enough.
No, he didn't.
Well, obviously, but it was highly questioned. Go ahead.
My thing is, Skip, is that with Justin Fields, I don't really know what else he can do. All you have to do is go. But now, I don't have a problem, before I say that, I don't have a problem with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan going to this, because I believe when you move up this high, Skip, there should be a consensus. You don't want to split. Now, Skip, you've been pretty much joined at the hip with everything you've done since you've gotten there. And you move up, you've kind of mortgaged your future. The guy that you're going to take at this spot right here, he's your future. Skip, you want to be okay. Can we agree on this one? So I don't have a problem with them going to the pro day. But Skip, I just don't get this.
Okay, so now they're going to have a second pro day, right. And Kyle and John say, we will go to this one.
Right.
And they indicated that Justin Fields' agent said, well, it's okay because we're going to do a second one. And so they went to the second Alabama pro day to look up close and personal at Mac Jones.
And to know that they were going to get a second look at Justin Fields. Okay. First look at Justin Fields through a second pro day.
Okay, go ahead.
Skip, this goes back to Warren Moon. Warren Moon is the only black quarterback that's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Warren Moon had to go to Canada. He was as prototypical of a drop-back quarterback. Warren Moon wasn't mobile. He was mobile, Skip, but he was prototypical drop back. Every quarterback, basically all the white quarterbacks in the NFL, they were drop back. That's what Warren Moon was. And it's like, nah, even though he won Rose Bowl MVP, nah, that's still not good enough. So he had to go somewhere else just to prove that he could do it. And that's what these guys have to do. There were questions about Cam. There's always, RG3, there's always going to be questions that we don't seem to broach when it comes to the right quarterback. So, Skip, I don't think, maybe it's subconsciously. They don't know that they're doing it. But when you do that and you don't raise these same questions about the counterpart, the blacks look at it like, hold on. So this guy got nothing. So Trevor Lawrence is flawless. Mac Jones is flawless. Zach Wilson is flawless because we've heard nothing but exemplary things about them.
No, well, that's not true. Zach Wilson, Mark Sanchez went off on him and said he's Brett Favre-ish for the better and the worse. Like he'll just fling it.
Nothing about work ethic.
No.
I don't care what you say, but that's that position.
That came from one ESPN commentator who then backtracked and apologized and said he was taken out of context. Just for the record, because Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, jumped right in on that and said, work ethic, he has as good a work ethic as any quarterback I've ever coached or been around.
We've all seen, I've actually been into a court proceeding, and we've seen enough of them on television. When someone says something and one of the attorneys says, I object, and the judge says sustain, how do you make the jury unhear what they heard? So how do you make the people unhear what was said about Justin Fields? How do you make them unhear that?
The proof is going to be in the pudding of how high he goes, because somebody may be just sitting right on Justin Fields. Maybe the Jets are, for all we know, at number 2.
We already knew the likelihood of Justin Fields getting outside of the top 10, no matter what was going to be said. It's just the fact that it was said. That's the problem that I have. Hey, if you want to be fair in your critique, be fair in your critique. But just don't willy-nilly and just say, well, I've made some more phone calls. No, Skip, you cut 10 times. You measure 10 times and cut once. You don't cut 10 times because you measured once. What he did, the follow-up, and then the follow-up, and the follow-up, that's what he should have done first. That's why I was giving news stories. You vet, you vet, you vet. Because once you put that out there, Skip, even though you do a retraction, it's hard to get back the damage that's been done by what you said initially. Look. Justin Fields, and that's another thing. Well, if he's athletic, he's just going to rely on his athletic system. But see, that's what we get. He's athletic. Oh, hard worker. When do you ever hear him describe a black guy as hard working? Aaron Donald is so talented. He's immensely talented. J.J. Watt's a hard worker. You see what they did there, Skip? It's almost like if you're talented, you can't be a hard worker. That's reserved for someone that's a little less talented. So Tom Brady is a hard worker. Tom Brady ain't talented. Tom Brady got no talent. He got by solely just because he worked hard. Really?
Well, I've called him the greatest overachiever in the history of quarterback play.
So he got no talent.
He's got a little bit, but even you discount his talent hugely.
No. I don't discount his talent, Skip. His talent is undeniable. But does he have all the physical tools of, say, an Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes? No. But to say the guy shouldn't have been in the league, no, that's not what I'm saying. Did he have, in basketball, if you were to equate, is he as talented at his position as, say, Michael Jordan or as LeBron? No. But that's not to deny. Larry Bird wasn't as talented. Was Larry Bird talented? No, he couldn't jump like Jordan.
Larry Bird was gifted. He had a shot nobody could block because he shot it clear back over behind his head at 6 feet 9 inches tall.
Yes.
And his stroke was as pure a stroke as you've ever seen in this league. And his ability to distribute the basketball was supreme. It's in the top 10 passing gifts that we've seen in the history of this league.
So when they described Deshaun Watson, how many times did you hear hardworking and how many times did you hear talented? When they describe Patrick Mahomes, how many times do you hear hardworking and how many times do you hear talented? Now, when they describe Drew Brees, how do they describe him? Do they describe him as hardworking or do they describe him as talented?
Okay, but that's because they weren't talented. They weren't as talented. Drew Brees was a complete overachiever. He just didn't have a lot of gift, man. He didn't have a lot of arm.
Just because you're not doesn't mean you're not.
I told you I went to watch Drew Brees in college at Northwestern, and I came away just shaking my head like, I don't see it.
Well, Skip,
I don't get it.
I saw him up close and personal for 2 years.
Okay.
And I was like,
okay. All right. To your biggest picture point, is there racial stereotyping that goes on before these drafts? Absolutely. Yeah. You know it, and I know it, and really everybody knows it.
It's the same thing with wide receivers, white wide receivers, Skip.
That's true. The other way around.
Yeah,
okay. I get that. But I have been at the forefront of this because I was blessed enough to be right in the middle of the Doug Williams stories. I've told you many times I spent a week with him at Grambling State University back in, 1977, in his senior year under the great coach Eddie Robinson. And I got to know him, and I've told you the story several times. I called several general managers to get the consensus because there wasn't much buzz about him yet. And I thought he'd be the first overall pick because he looked like it to me.
Yeah.
What was he, 6'5", 230?
Another prototypical drop back.
Pure drop back.
Rock a cannon, 80 yards.
A cannon, and not that mobile.
No,
like that wasn't his game. He was just